In this episode of How Are You Adapting, we discuss approaching accessibility and anxieties while pivoting your program. I'll be speaking with Catie Primeau from Unity Charity in Toronto to understand how they are adapting their high-energy live performances to a digital platform. And if this is your first time tuning into How Are You Adapting, this is a weekly mini-series where we speak with arts organizations throughout Canada to gain some insight on how they are pivoting their programming during COVID-19.
My name is Catie Primeau. I am the Director of Development and Communications with Unity Charity. And I'll start off today by telling you a bit about Unity and our program structure. So Unity is a national nonprofit that uses hip-hop art forms to promote resilience and well-being among youth, creating healthier communities. Our programs provide youth with high-quality hip-hop arts education alongside tools and resources that improve mental health outcomes. We also provide really vital performance and professional development opportunities for emerging hip-hop artists across the country. So our programs are broken up into three main categories: inspire, engage, and empower. So traditionally our inspire category is offering free educational short-term offerings that inform audiences about hip-hop art forms, as well as their power to positively express stress and anxiety. And this is really the underpinning for all of Unity's work, is the idea that access to high-quality arts education can empower people to express themselves in positive ways. So our Inspire performances take the form of our Unity Days, which are single-day engagements that occur within schools across the country. They have an inspiring performance in an assembly in the morning, as well as workshops in the afternoon. We also have our annual Unity Festival and special events bookings. So we use these outreach engagements to point young audiences to local hip hop and mental health resources where they can seek further arts education and support as they need. Second, we have our engaged programs, which are our weekly high impact initiatives. So our after school programs and our community drop-ins. These are delivered in partnership with educational institutions, community partners, other nonprofits, and social service organizations, and are delivered to youth aged 12 to 29 and offered completely free in predominantly underserved communities. Right now, we're operating these programs within the GCA as well as newly within the Halifax-Dartmouth area in the last year. So most of these programs are multidisciplinary and introduce our participants to all of the hip hop art forms, which for those who don't know, is dance, beat making, spoken word and MC, and graffiti art. And others are actually art form specific, and they seek to build the foundations of an amateur entry-level artist skill set. And through these programs, our participants improve mental health and well-being outcomes alongside their artistic skills. And they're also given significant roles in mentorship, performance, evaluation, and volunteering, so that they in turn can make positive contributions to the well-being of their own communities. And then finally, we have our Empower programming, which seeks to empower youth and emerging hip-hop artists by providing them with employment, professional development, and leadership opportunities. So our primary Empower opportunity is actually our artist roster, which is our frontline team of over 60 hip-hop artists that deliver all of our Inspire and Engage programs across Canada. And many of our artists are actually recruited from our weekly Engage programs. So in essence, what this looks like is a progressive ladder of opportunities for engagement with youth and emerging hip-hop artists. And that in a nutshell is what Unity does.
Wow, that's quite a bit of things that Unity does.
Yes.
So, yeah. So how are you adapting? How are you adapting your programming? How are you and your team adapting your programming to accommodate physical distancing?
Sure, yeah. So we're constantly keeping youth and community at the forefront of our minds. And we've been working really hard to find ways to continue to engage and support the well-being and resilience of the young people that have been accessing our programs, even with the quarantine and social distancing measures in place. So what that has resulted in is us launching this week a 10-week series of free online workshops that teach hip hop art forms. So we're teaching spoken word, emceeing, DJing, street dance, breaking, and beatboxing, all through the lens of mental wellness and resilience. So we're offering all of those free online through Zoom. And at the same time, we are doing direct community outreach through the collaborative partners that we've continually worked with over the years and stay connected to ensure that the youth that we're accessing our in-person programs are able to see what we're offering online and hopefully access as much as possible. We're also working with arts orgs and collectives to provide emerging hip hop artists with paid performance opportunities. So right now we're co-presenting 3 live stream performances alongside Urgent Music and Maclean's Magazine. And we're constantly exploring other collaborations and partnerships to this end to try and provide as many of these performance opportunities to Unity's artist roster as possible. We're also going to launch a professional development online workshop series for artists and arts educators in the next month as well.
Amazing. So when the news went out, what has been the response from the youth you served?
Sure. So we've actually seen an increase in the number of people that are accessing our programs. We have seen many of the kids that were coming to our in-person programs hopping online and taking part in these weekly programs. So it's really great to see. I would say the response has been overwhelmingly positive from the participants as well as the youth workers we continually work with in community centers, the educators we partner with that are trying to connect with their own kids in their classes at the same time that we are doing this. So it's been nice to have that as a partnership to be able to really directly reach the kids that like to access Unity's programs.
What do you think it would mean to the community if Unity was not able to adapt their programming? What would it mean to the youth?
I think it would leave a very big gap in their ability to grow and learn in a way that's relevant to their own experience. That's really been a priority for Unity over the years, is to ensure that we are keeping an authenticity and integrity towards not only the art forms that we're teaching, but also towards the communities within which we're working. So to have that slide into the background, I think would be very detrimental to the youth that we've been working with.
Yeah, of course. I think the community, and for all the other arts organizations I've been speaking with too, the community is so important and is at the heart of what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, with all this uncertainty around us all the time now, I think it's more important than ever that young people are able to access these outlets for stress and anxiety and find positive ways to express themselves.
So switch gears a little bit and go on the technology side.
Sure.
You're using Zoom and Instagram Live to kind of deliver your content.
Yes.
What kind of hiccups are you guys running into?
Well, Zoom, while it is a pretty familiar platform for most, it's not something we've actually used to deliver any workshops or content. So it was a lot of research and quick training to try and get up on what the functionalities even are on the platform, which was significant for 2 reasons. The first being the ability to actually deliver the programs, but second, to be able to communicate to our funding partners that we would be able to effectively track metrics like attendance and engagement through an online platform. So doing the research on how we can use some of the functionalities of Zoom to do things like program evaluation.
That's actually, that's the first time I'm hearing someone say that, because come to think of it, Zoom does give you a lot of analytics, and you can obviously use that analytics to show to your funders to say like, hey, there is a presence here.
Yeah, and it also has a polling feature, so that allows you to deliver condensed surveys, I would say. We, in our programs, have built up a really robust evaluations program over the years, and it's been a really kind of unique identifier for Unity. It's making us a really competitive charitable partner for a lot of private corporations and foundations, I would say. So to be able to translate that into something workable through an online space has been a challenge, and it's something we're still continuing to work on. But keeping that line of communication open with our partners throughout that process has been really vital. And that's what I would say has been the key to a lot of the work that we've been able to accomplish just in this short 3-week time period, is turning to our partners not only to ensure that we're able to keep our funding flowing, but also turning to them to say, here's what we need in terms of technical support. Here's what we need in terms of outreach support. And the response has been really positive in that regard.
That actually brings me to my next question. Tell me a little bit more about your partners and funders. Did it take some convincing for them to stay on board?
Yes, I would say depending on the kind of partner, for a lot of organizations, government funding comes with a lot of stringent guidelines and metrics that you have to track. So those are the more challenging partners, I would say, to convince at this point that you can still effectively deliver programming in online spaces when you've traditionally been doing in person. However, there has been a lot of understanding and flexibility with our government funders. And our private funders have been incredible, I will say. They've been very open to switching up reporting schedules, changing deliverables and agreements, and even offering to allow us to direct funding towards operations when it was supposed to be towards program delivery specifically. So we've seen a lot of flexibility and generosity from a lot of our partners.
That's amazing. It's always great when the partners stay on board and they kind of accommodate your needs, because we're all in this together.
Yeah, and that's been what's been really refreshing and hopeful throughout this whole process, is that people are coming together and realizing that there are still many needs in the communities in which we live and work. And a lot of that is only exacerbated with the current conditions. So it's important to keep that at the forefront.
So what are some anxieties that you're feeling with the approaches you're taking with online programming?
Sure, yeah. One of the most significant anxieties is whether we can attract enough participants and how we can achieve the metrics that we need for our funding partners. But I'm happy to say we've been able to roll out an integrated marketing campaign alongside direct community outreach. So we're seeing a good number of youth joining in and being able to capture many of the metrics we were meant to. So that's that anxiety slowly kind of moving to the wayside, but it's going to be a continual effort to ensure that we're getting enough people within the programs. Also, we have a team that works so incredibly hard to create spaces where people feel supported and dignified and safe to grow, learn, and work. And the question of how do we effectively bring this to online spaces that are arguably much more open to the public than ever before. So we're still working on this, but we determined we needed to have a moderator as well as a facilitator in all of our programs. And we start the workshops off with a communal agreement that sets the standard for respectful interactions. And we're also working with our community partners to curate some safety and security resources for online spaces that we can share with youth, parents, teachers, youth workers. So those are the kind of steps we're taking to try and mitigate that. A bigger kind of question that I think extends well beyond what Unity's doing solely is the idea of accessibility. I mean, not everybody has access to a device and an internet connection. So that's been a huge piece of why we wanted to do more direct outreach to the youth that have been in the programs that we've been operating prior to COVID-19 shutdowns. Because we do primarily work within underserved communities where this is a reality. So we're continuing to work with some of our partners in education in particular to see if there are resources we can access to get computers and internet access in kids' hands. And then finally, we just have been dealing with the general uncertainty on whether online programming can really have the same level of impact that our in-person programming has always had. And that is a question that honestly still remains yet to be seen.
Yeah, I think you bring up some great points there. First of all, accessibility never even crossed my mind. And it's very embarrassing because you're absolutely right. Access to technology, access to the internet you're in a privileged position if you do have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a huge hurdle to overcome with so many intersecting issues that result in that being an issue. So it's a really complicated one, and it's touching, I think, a lot of organizations, including our education system right now. So hopefully we can find some partners that are willing to help us out with that.
Yeah, and I think your other anxiety about impact is a valid one too, because your programming is so high energy, and how do you match that in-person high energy vibe online?
Yeah, and our programs team is honestly some of the most incredible people I've ever had the pleasure to work with. So they're doing everything they can to try and ensure that they're creating a vibe that is similar to what we've offered in our traditional Unity programs. So we have been receiving really positive feedback in that regard, so I'm happy about that. But I don't know that we can ever truly replace in-person experiences with online content.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah.
So how important is it to get this approach right? How important is it to choose the correct platform? Because I know you mainly serve youth, so Instagram Live is a big app that people can use. Are there more experimentations that you guys are doing with other platforms?
Everything we're talking about right now is still work in progress. I would not say that we are done experimenting by any stretch of the word. I think what's really been challenging in that regard is understanding that you have to focus on progress rather than perfection. I don't think that we've achieved perfection in what we're doing in terms of offering programs online, but it's a learning process for all of us. And the important thing is to just ensure that you're bringing your community and your participants and your partners along with you while you're evolving.
And finally, where can we hear what you're doing? Where can we hear more from you? Tell us about your social, your programming, whatever, just plug.
Sure. So our full 10-week workshop schedule with all of the recurring Zoom links is available at unitycharity.com/programs. That's where you will find the full schedule. We are offering at least 2 workshops every day a week, except for Sundays. And we are also, like you mentioned, doing live stream performances as well as live Q&As with our artist roster on Instagram. So if you want to give us a follow, it's at Unity Charity. That's for Facebook and Instagram as well as Twitter.
Amazing. Well, you guys are all over my Instagram, so I will be tuning into some of these. And you were kind enough to send me the schedule for the Zoom call, so I'll probably tune into some of those too.
Awesome. That would be great. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
All right, Catie, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and having a chat with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I really hope everything works out. I'm glad that you guys are taking this approach of experimenting with platforms because we don't know, right? We're all kind of just trying to figure it out ourselves. And I'm really happy that your partners have been so accommodating.
Yeah, same. It's been actually a very positive experience overall for everybody. It feels strange to say given the context we find ourselves in right now, but yeah, it's been good. Thank you.